Good evening, everyone. Welcome on the speaker show tonight. I am so super excited to be here with each and every one of you. So tonight, oh my
Speaker
goodness,
show
oh my God,
tonight. I am so super excited.
oh my bad. Okay. Okay, so let's get into what we have to talk about this evening. I am happy to be here. I remain your host, your one and holy Niniola Fatai, on the Speaker Show. So I hope you guys are doing very great. First of all, I want to say, to each and everyone that has been waiting for us to come up, 7 o'clock, they're right there. I just want to take the time to say a very big thank you to you guys. You guys are amazing. You guys are wonderful. You guys are doing excellently. And I'm going to assure you that tonight, you're not gonna go empty. I'm telling you, because the person that we have in here, she's got it fully loaded. And you're just gonna be like, oh my God, there's gonna be a lot for you to take home tonight. But most importantly, please, I want to tell you that. As this is going on, as we are live right now, I just want you to please just take the time, share with your loved ones, share the videos, share the link with your loved ones. Let them join in. Don't be the only one on here with us. Share with them, let them come. The more people, the better that we're able to touch. So please take the time to share the video, and always please like them. The more views, the more like, it's just amazing. You guys are wonderful. So we're gonna get in, and then we're going to be having some good time. All right. So before we go, and then before we bring our guest in, I'm just going to quickly do like a quickly recap of what we talked about last week. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you, like, the whole thing just still continues. Like, I just want to tell you that be open minded when you come on the speaker show. My aim and my team, our aim, our hope, and our purpose for each and every one of you is to be able to find your path, is to be able, like, through other people's story, you are able to find your own way. You are able to be inspired. You are able to be motivated through other people's stories. So please, let's have a good time tonight. I don't want to take much of our time because I know that, like, there's gonna be a lot of juices right in and there and here and there and all that. So let's just please join me and welcome. And I'll tell you a little bit about the person that we have, okay? She is a complete powerhouse. And trust me, Nini doesn't go less. You all know that. So for us to have her over here, Dr. Genevieve, for us to have her over here is just something amazing. And I'm gonna give you a little bit background about her. She's a debt management specialist. Do you know what that means? She's got a lot to tell us tonight and put us through. And not just that, she is a professor, she is a speaker, she is a coach as well, and a business consultant. And she didn't just stop there, okay? She went into and dig into, and she's like, I'm not just gonna settle for less. I want more in my life. And that's what I want us to focus on as well to tonight. Don't just come. I want you to look beyond where you are right now, because there's so much more inside of you that you can become. When other people are doing it, definitely you can do it without giving excuses. And most importantly, one thing that I want you to know about her that we really gonna be digging into tonight is that she is a property investment manager. And she is a pro, okay? She is a pro when it comes to all these Airbnb investment and properties and all that. So tonight, trust me, you are not gonna go wrong tonight by being here with us. So I'm not gonna waste much of our time. So let's just bring her in. Welcome in our midst, Dr. Genevieve. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited. I just thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I'm going to say thank you for your time. Honestly, I appreciate it so much. I know you're a very busy person, but the fact that you took the time to be here with us, it means a lot. And I appreciate it so much. Wow. So let's get into it. So, because I know you got a lot for us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So much. So yeah, I mean, I definitely, like you said, I've done a lot of things in my life. I have been a student loan expert for the last 20 years. Debt management, so credit management, credit repair, trade lines. I've done property investment management. I've written 3 books. I'm working on a 4th. I'm a professor. I just have a gamut of knowledge, which, which keeps me busy, but also keeps my life very exciting. So I really enjoy the things that I do.
That's beautiful. Guys, I told you that she is a powerhouse. She's got a lot to give us tonight. Can you imagine? Look at all the list of the things she just named right there. All right, so she's gonna kill for us tonight, okay?
Awesome.
All right, so thank you for the intro. I appreciate that a lot. So I just want you to let us get into these good things, let's get to know you yourself. I know you have all these great things going on for you, but how did you start, and then being a woman, because when we met, I saw the kind of energy that you carry, and I'm like, wow, such an amazing woman. So so and then being where you are, how did you make it all up, and how did you get there? Tell us a little bit about it, because one thing I want you to know is that I've got a lot of amazing women right here, on the show that they're watching, and they would love to know, because everyone wants to do better, and the aim of the speaker show is somebody's story can impact somebody else's story, so they can make up their own. So please go ahead.
Well, I mean, I have an interesting story. I don't go into all of it because you can read it in my first book. But I will say that I started off in a small town. So I was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but then we ended up moving to a smaller town, and I didn't have a lot of access to information about what Black women were doing. I didn't know that Black women could be business owners. I didn't know that we could really be educated. I had very limited resources to finding those things out. And I remember my first aha moment for me was probably 1996. I had a philosophy professor. And in this class, he would question what we thought the world was, right? How we thought the world worked. And he would make us ask things like, well, why? Why do you feel that way? Why do you think this? And it was like an eye-opener for me, because I started to break down a lot of boundaries and barriers where I thought, well, okay, I just gotta, get a job and whatever, live in this small town and just do these things. And I didn't really see options for myself until I started to figure out how to kind of think on my own. And that was my first step into wait a minute, I don't have to stay here. I don't have to do this. I don't have to live like this. It was just that first transition. But my college experience, in and out of college for undergrad, I didn't take the traditional route. I ended up having my son at 21, so I was very young. I worked full-time for a few years, moved to Florida. I started working for a student loan management company in Pennsylvania that I ended up coming to Florida to work for. And then that kind of changed my trajectory, where I was in a completely new environment, which I always recommend people never live in the same place that you were born. Get out there and be in different places, because you're going to get a different perspective of what your options are. And then from there, I got my undergrad degree. It took me 8 years for a 4-year degree, but I got it either way. And then I went straight from undergrad. I got my MBA. And then from there, I ended up getting my doctorate in business here in USF, here in Florida. But during all of that time, single mom, I had a job. I then turned around and started my business about, what year is this, 14 years ago. I wrote my books. I went to school part-time in the evenings. I did all of it in that time frame. And I think that was the best decision, because I was still young enough that I had the energy. Don't wait until you're 40. Oh my God, I'm so tired now. Now I'm I need a nap. It's noon. And I'm I know I just got up at 9, but I need a nap because your energy level changes. But between my 20s and my 30s, I had so much energy. I could go out and party all night, go to school, work full time, run a business, raise my son. And I took that opportunity to do it all in a 10-year time frame. And that was kind of my first step. But as far as getting into business particularly, I I worked for a company after I worked for the student loan company. I worked for a company in Florida that I call the Plantation. They were like the worst company ever. And it was at that moment that I realized I needed autonomy. I needed to have control over my own schedule, and I didn't want to feel like I was nothing, which is what this company made me feel. And I stepped out on my own. But it was hard. It's not an easy thing to walk away from a 9 to 5 paycheck, a consistent paycheck. And when I had a mortgage and a kid and all these expectations, but it was life changing for me because I started to realize like I could create multiple streams of income, and I could survive it. And I mean, I've never gone a day without a meal. So far so good. Knock on wood. So it's been a great journey.
Wow. I love that. And thank you for sharing that with us. And then, out of the story, the most important thing that, that you talked about that I really, really loved and admire so much was when you said that you started thinking for yourself. I think that's like a breakthrough in one's life, because the moment that you can hone your life, you can make those decisions, you can think true for yourself and say, this is what I want, this is what I want to do, and this is the sacrifice I want to make towards it. I think it just make like like a great change in
Yeah.
one's life.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, like, you do not have to follow traditional paths. These societal norms that we think we're supposed to follow, we don't have to. We can do within reason, right? Anything that we want to do, and my the thing that I say is do no harm. I don't do any harm, but I do what I want. And I live my life on my own terms. I make decisions for where I want to live and what I want to do. You can move to another country. You can move to Asia if you wanted to, and take your kids and live there. There's the sky's the limit. And once people realize that, it's a whole different ballgame, because they recognize that they are not stuck in this box where they feel like they have to follow this standard. They can get out and do anything.
Yes, I agree, 100%, 100%. I agree about that. All right. So, another question that I have for you this evening is, okay, so being an educative like woman, how like somebody who comes from their home country and then they try to want to establish something. I know it's different in the States and over here in Canada. So, but I know that like, there's still some level of comparison, among the two, and similarities like that. So, but being an immigrant and as a woman, who like, how do you think, or what kind of advice would you give to like women that like, they come from a different place and they try to want to just settle in and build something for themselves?
Yeah, I think the most important factor would be to network well and find really good allies. So once you find that connection in that community, you can do anything. I mean, one of the things that I love about my current life is that I have the best friends you could imagine. I mean, we're talking, I told my friend last week that I was sick, and she has like this magic like cure, and she brought all these ingredients, and she like put together this thing. She made me dinner, just on the strength of like, I don't feel good. Or if I have a business function, they show up. If they're doing a business function, I show up. When you find that community that wants to support you, which I think in Black women communities we have, when you find those people where they're like, we got you, girl, what do you need? You will be okay. Because that means if you need a roof over your head, they got you. If your kids need to eat, they got you. And that's the most important thing. Get out and network. Go on Facebook, pages, event pages. Go on, meetups. Whatever you have to do to find your tribe, because your tribe will support you and help you get to the next level.
Wow, you nailed it. Honestly, I love that. I love the way you answered it, because, I am a believer of you got to show up.
Yes.
I don't care what you have. I don't care what you don't have. You just got to show up. Exactly. You have the money. You don't have the money. You have the clothes. You don't have the clothes. You have the dress. I don't care. Just show up. And if you can show up, definitely there is gonna be a change in your life, because each and every one or any individual that decide to sit in their comfort zone,
Yes,
nothing happens. So
exactly.
you got to get out. So wow,
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. That's
Yes.
really really good. That's good. I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
so
that.
true. And I like that you said comfort zone. I tell people all the time, the only way that you're ever going to be successful is to become very comfortable being uncomfortable. It's the
Yes.
only way to succeed.
Yes.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay. So now my next question is that, because I know that, like, okay, I won't use that anymore. Okay. All right. So how do you think that a person can brand themselves if they're looking and then, like, having a platform for themselves?
Yeah, so that takes time and patience.
Yes.
Branding comes with consistency.
Yes.
If you're showing up in the community consistent, like say for example, you're an accountant and you're showing up in the community as an accountant, and everybody starts to know, like, oh, she's an accountant. They will start to know who you are and what you're about. And you always have to be your true, authentic self. I know that there's some people that think that there's this separation between personal and business persona, and I disagree. I think when you show up as your authentic self, where people know who you are and who that they expect you to be at every moment, they will trust you, and you will
Mhm.
start to be able to brand yourself as somebody who's a trustworthy individual and who is whatever it is that they say they are. People in my community, they know what I do. People know what I do. They know what I'm about. They know that I'm active in the community. They know that I'm a student loan expert and debt management specialist and blah, 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 blah. So I get contacted all the time for gigs or opportunities or for business because the community knows me. And so it's going to take time. I've been, like I said, a business owner for 14 years. And probably the first 5 years, people didn't know. And I just had to consistently, I had, back then, like a lot of YouTube videos. And I was just always just trying to show up as who I was so that people would start to recognize me.
Wow, that's good. You see, you're killing it tonight. Okay. You're giving me some good vibe. I like that.
Thank
All
you.
right. So I like that. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. So now my next question for you is that I know you're into many things, but we're gonna be like, getting into one at a time. So, but first of all, I know on right here, like, I have people that, like, they have some properties, and they don't really know how to get around with the Airbnb, and then, they don't know, maybe probably you can actually bring profit for them or not, like that. So if you can shed a little bit of light, because I know you're a pro, so
Yeah,
so
so property Airbnbs can be tricky, right? And with the current market, it has become trickier. I started doing Airbnbs, gosh, probably back in the very beginning, maybe 2011 or so, like a couple years after I bought my house. And I would Airbnb my house out because I travel a lot. And back then, properties were like more affordable. And so it was easier to maintain a profit, right? And so that was very helpful. Now it has become trickier depending on where you are. The key with Airbnbs now is that you want to be in a sweet spot. You want to have a property that's going to have uniqueness, because right now we are saturated with Airbnb properties. So you can't come in as the next average Airbnb property and think that you're going to be able to do well with it, especially if you have a newer mortgage, where you got these 6 and 7% interest rates. If you have a property that you've had for 10 or 15 years and your mortgage is much lower, sure, it's a little bit easier. But I would say that if you're looking at trying to get into Airbnbs now, a couple of things you're going to want to look for. You can still go small as long as you decorate it very, very well. Don't skimp on decorations. Make it super cute. Doesn't have to be expensive cute, but it has to look expensive cute. So shabby chic styles, or you make it so that it's super unique. There's properties people I'm sure have seen. There's Airbnbs in tree houses. There's Airbnbs that are outside in igloos. There's Airbnbs that are like on a lake, and they have to be unique. because now people are looking for something a little different that's going to set you apart from the average property. So there's a lot of factors. I mean, you got to look at what's your bottom line, what's your cleaning costs, what's your insurance costs, which you definitely want to have. Ultimately, like if something gets damaged and it has to be repaired. Now the great thing is Airbnb will pay, but there might be some things that have sentimental value. Be careful with that. So you have to you have to really plan it. Like I always tell people, like it's always best to hire somebody. Like they could hire me or somebody else to sit down and run the numbers to see, like, does it make sense in this particular community? Right now in Florida, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Florida has become extremely expensive. Not if you're trying to like get a property right now. If you have a property in Florida, then yeah, great. Or if you're looking at very unique properties, great. But find something that's unique. If you do, like, let's say you go near Disney and you do a completely Disney themed out property, it will go like hotcakes, right? Because now it's themed out, it's family friendly, you got Mickey all over the place and blah, blah, blah. So it's going to be able to be rented as a family Disney property. Just keep in mind, like, who's going to be your target audience, just like we do in any business. Who's your target audience? And then what's the going rate? Look at the numbers. You can actually find those numbers on Amazon sites. Look at the numbers for that area, and then look at your overall costs and see if it's something that's going to make sense. Now, if you're buying a property and you're going to break even, but you want to have that property for retirement, that's okay too. Just try not to be upside down. That's the goal. We don't want to spend more than we're making. And when you start to see that that's happening, then it's probably time to let go of the property, which I've let go of quite a few in Florida, because it just didn't make sense with the rise in costs. So that's the biggest thing.
Wow. Thank you for that. Thank you. All right. So my next question is this, because I know that it's quite it's almost similar, like, US, Canada.
Yeah,
I think it's almost like the same.
Yeah.
So, but now, like, it depends, like you said, like it depends on the area where you are, because there's some areas that like it's booming like crazy.
Yeah.
And then there's some areas that, like, it's just kind of like, settling, and, people are just like, in and out. So it's all depends in the area. But
Right.
the most important thing is that, do you think, because I have people that ask me and then they're like, oh, like, is this something that it's advisable to get into? Maybe probably, like, money wise, if you're going to make money, if you're not going to make money, those strategies that you give, they're beautiful. But what do you think about that?
So I think that if you can find the right area, it's great. And don't be scared to look out of the country. So you don't necessarily have to get an Airbnb in your country. You could find a country that is more affordable, like Mexico. Places like that. I was looking at properties in Mexico, I want to say last year. You could get a property for $120,000, $130,000, comes with maid service. It's already furnished, although I would say upgrade some of the items and make it nicer, fluffier, a little more Hilton-esque. But in that scenario, $120,000 property, you're going to be able to make your money, because people are going to always be going to Mexico to party. Or weddings, or whatever the case may be. So, or, even look at places in Africa. I know someone, a friend of mine, she had a property in Africa, and she actually was renting the property. So she didn't buy it. She rented the property from some homeowners there, and then she Airbnb'd it out. So she upgraded it, made it nice, and she Airbnb'd it out, which is another option. And that's called Airbnb arbitrage, where you don't have to buy the property, but you can rent the property and then Airbnb it, which is not a bad deal, especially if you can find an area that allows it. It's much easier if the landlord's okay with it versus trying to do it if the landlord's not okay, which either way, like depending on your comfort level. But, it's definitely easier to do that, where they know that it's going to be clean all the time. They know you're going to pay the rent every month, and they're willing to let you handle it because they don't want to handle it. Sometimes it's just an older couple that owns the property, and they don't know how to get on Airbnb and handle all that stuff. So you get the property and you can do that. And a lot of times you can actually offer them a little bit above what they ask for rent, because you're going to make a bigger profit. I know me and my ex-husband had like a 7-bedroom and an 8-bedroom properties that we had rented out and were Airbnb in. And those properties made $4,000 or $5,000 a month, so they did well. And they're big properties. So, you're renting them out for a lot more. It's like, it's for the whole family. Everybody's coming down for weddings. It was close to Disney or whatever the case may be. But they would do really well. And we had permission from the landlords to do that. So it made it easier.
Oh, that's good. So that means that, if you get an opportunity to to rent, you can actually even just grab that. Because I know a lot of people down here, like in Toronto, that so many condos that people just Airbnb it, and then at the same time some are scared to get into it. So I like the way we're able to break that down, and then give people the belief to so they can do that.
Everything is an opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And then it's important that when an opportunity comes your way, you're able to boom, grab towards it. So that makes life much easier, right? So
exactly. For sure.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we're gonna move to the next question that I have for you.
Okay.
All right, so back and forth with everything, so don't worry, just relax. And please, before I ask the next question, please, everyone who is online with us, everyone who is joining us, who is here with us, please, if you have any question in regards to whatever she's talking about, please drop your comments in the comment section, because we're gonna be taking questions and she's gonna be answering them for you. So please, if there's something on your mind, if there's something that maybe you have an idea you would like to ask, or you would like any information you would like to know in regard to what's going on, please just drop the comments, and then we will get at it. All right, so so back to me. All right, the next question I want to ask is, because I know you're also into student loan management and all those things like that. So what would be your advice for a young person who just just finished school, and then trying to get a job, and the student loan things, they come back, and then you got to start paying, and then they haven't laid your hand, because I know thousands of people in this situation, right? So what would be your advice for them? How do you think they can navigate through that, and whether it doesn't end up affecting their credit at the end of the day?
Yeah, absolutely good question. So the most important factor in managing any type of debt, whether it's student loans or credit cards, the first thing you have to do is actually manage it. A lot of people bury their heads in the sand, and they're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it'll magically go away. And none of that is the case. So you have to figure out what you're going to do with it. There's multiple ways of handling it. Obviously, you can always hire somebody. I have clients all over the world that use my services for assistance for those things. But you can also sit down over a weekend and start digging through your paperwork. What do you owe? How long is it going to take you to pay it off? What is your interest rates? What are the rules for your particular loan? Are they federal loans? Are they private loans? You really need to start to understand what is it that you have. And that's kind of the first step of controlling it, is when you have a firm grasp of what it is. I get so many clients where I'm like, okay, so what type of loan do you have? And they're like, I'm like, you don't know what type of loan you have? like, what's the interest rate? I don't know. I'm like, oh no. You have to understand these things, or at least have easy access to them. So that's kind of the first step. And there's so many different rules and regulations with student loans, and they're all over the place. So I won't go into a grave amount of detail because they're changing all the time. But I will say that there are a lot of different repayment programs that make life so much easier. So if they're federal loans, they probably have a repayment program that's going to work, especially someone fresh out of college. There's so many payment programs. Their payments can be zero or close to it, $10, $20. I think my son's student loan payments are like $18 a month. So there are ways for it to be affordable. And as long as you're paying the minimum, at least at that stage, you don't have to worry about it affecting your credit, in the sense that it's not going to go into default or anything like that. Now, it does affect your DTI, your debt to income ratio. So if you're going to buy a house, it will have an impact, but there are workarounds for that too. So don't let the lenders tell you, oh, your DTI is too high because of your student loans. Do not let them tell you that. That's not true. They just don't know how to manipulate the loans so that it drops your DTI. And there is definitely lots of great ways of doing that, so that the loans don't have an impact. So that's always important. And then there's consolidation options. There is tons of forgiveness options now. Under Biden's administration, we've seen tons. I've had so many clients get student loan forgiveness in the last year. It's unreal. I had a client, she got like $329,000 in forgiveness. Like, and it happens all the time. I just had a client 2 days ago tell me she just got her student loan forgiveness. So student loan forgiveness is a real thing. If you manage the loans appropriately, where they're in the right repayment bucket to qualify, that's an option. So people think like, oh, well, I have to be a teacher or a nurse. Well, that's not true. There's student loan forgiveness options for everybody. The major caveats to forgiveness is if your income is over $125,000, then it makes it harder. But under $125,000, there's plenty of options. So that's another big one that I tell people, like, don't just assume that you can't qualify and not even try. Try, do the paperwork, see what sticks. But there's there is a caveat of options for student loans. I mean, the list goes on. So they shouldn't worry. No stress, no fuss. Just figure out what they are and then start figuring out what the options are that are available.
Yes, I agree with what you said, because it's actually true that, like, because a lot of people, like, they don't want to deal with it. And then the fact that, like, they don't want to deal with it is the reason why, like, they kind of get into more problems with it. And and I also see that, like, also, like, aside from the debt itself, like, even personal lives, like, like whatever you want to do as well too, like, same thing just goes around. Like, if you're not ready to, like, to deal with something, to get into something, to sort it out, and then you think probably, like, just hiding away from it, or maybe just, like, covering your face is just gonna be like, oh, you're done about it. That's a lie, because it's still gonna come back. You're still gonna have to deal with it at the end of the day. So please, for everyone who is watching, I would just advise, like, for the people who have, like, it doesn't even matter. Like I said, like, just whatever it is, just deal with it. So that way, like, you don't have to come back to it again. So that way you can move forward and, great things can happen in your life. All right. So we're right at the point where we're going to be taking the questions.
Good. Awesome.
All right. So we've got tons of questions out here. And then I'm not sure, maybe we're going to be able to read all. Definitely we can't, but we'll try our best.
Okay.
All right. So, okay, so sacrifice. Okay, I'm trying to see the couple of them. Okay, so I think someone is asking right here, and it says that, like, a powerful, confident being, like that. So I'm guessing maybe probably the person is just saying that, like, maybe how did you like, get all the strength, the courage, and then the being the person that you have.
Yeah, so that's a learned thing, right? I was actually very shy in my 20s. You would the person that I was then compared to the person I am now are like completely two different people. I was shy. I was a little introverted. I did not step up in a room. I did not do public speaking at all. Matter of fact, in college, I think I got a D in public speaking. I didn't do any of those things. I had to learn to be the person that I wanted to be because I was tired of being the other person. And I think at some point when we get to a point in our lives where we're like, okay, I want to be something else, and I feel like I have more to give, become more. And I'm still growing. I mean, I'm 47 years old, but I feel like I'm not there yet. I'm not who I want to be yet. I'm not the person that I still know that I can be. And I'm constantly bettering myself. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to be a better partner, a better friend. And so it's constantly learning and growing. And I've always been a person that loved education. So I've always been an academic. I've always been great in school. So I was always good at looking for information, finding information. And from that information, I started to grow as a person. And that's always been like nowadays, like young people have no idea how blessed they are to have easy access to knowing anything they want to know. which is why I understand why they don't know stuff when they're on Facebook and they're posting, because we have access, and so it's a matter of like seek out information. If you're not sure, how do I become a stronger, more powerful person? There's videos for that. There's teachings for that. There's books that can help. And then go out and practice, and it's okay to fall on your face. It's okay to stumble. My first like public speaking event that I did, which was, I don't know, probably 9-10 years ago now, it was horrible. I was nervous. I was sweating. I was shaking. I could feel my hands. Like, and if I ever watched the video again, I would just be like, oh my God. You just have to grow. Just keep growing.
Yeah, very important. Yeah, that's true. All right, so we're gonna go to the next question. So someone here says that what lesson did you learn in your career that makes you depth? Okay, I don't know what the person wrote here. Okay, how to say I want more than this. Okay, so I'm assuming what the person is saying is that, so what lesson in your career did you learn that makes you like, come to a level or come to a conclusion in your life that, I'm not satisfied yet, I still want more?
Yeah, so, well, to be very honest, to give you some personal background, for me, it all kind of started from being told as a kid that I wasn't, that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't good enough, that I couldn't do it. And when you hear that from your parents, from your family, it kind of forces you to prove them wrong. So that was kind of the initial start of it. And then I started to realize, getting into my 30s, like, we're all doing this for the first time. Like, this is our first lives, at least as far as we know, right? It's okay if you fail. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay if you look stupid or silly. It's okay, because everybody else is doing this for the first time as well. And anybody that doesn't understand that you have fallen and you're trying to get back up aren't the people you want around you anyway.
Absolutely.
So that changes your perspective, where you just don't give a shit. Like, and when you get to a point of that where you're like, guess what? I don't care. I'm going to fall down. I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to do better the next time. And I have time to do that. And I can make mistakes and I can pivot. It changes the game, because then it gives you all the confidence in the world, because guess what? I don't care. Like, it's true.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. It is what it is, right? So you just gotta grow out of, like, just self-pity, right? And then, wanting other people to just like you for, like, what you're doing. And then, if one also, like, take out those perspective away from one's mind, like, it kind of, puts you in the better place. So yeah. So
exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go to the next question. So there's someone here that says that, can cars be used for Airbnb? So I'm thinking maybe probably, like, those trailers. That's what the person is referring to.
Yes, they can. So there's tricks to those types of things. I mean, obviously there's safety factors that you do have to consider. If you're going to have a vehicle that could potentially move, that's a whole nother level that you want to be very cautious of. But if you're going to have like a trailer that's, say, sitting on a property, great. People love stuff like that. There's always somebody that loves something. The key is make it comfortable, make it cute. And people will love to stay in a trailer or a little mobile home, or you'd be surprised the type of places that people will Airbnb, depending on what else you add. Like, maybe you have a fire pit in the backyard, or a little koi pond, or whatever. Just make it interesting, and people will stay. They rent out Airbnb boats. I was just talking to my boyfriend the other day about, like, I'm always on to something. He probably thinks I'm crazy. I'm like, oh, we should buy a boat and then Airbnb it out. And but you can do that. Like, there's so many options. And just be cautious of, like, make sure you have added insurance, make sure you have the safety factors in place, things like that. God forbid you wouldn't want anybody to get hurt in a trailer or something like that. So just keep that in mind, children, and specify. Like, the cool thing about Airbnb, you can say, like, this property is not good for children under 12. You can say that. And you can deny people that have small kids, or you can deny people that are under 21 if you don't want them burning the place down because they decided to get drunk by the fire pit. So there's things that you can put in place to kind of safeguard yourself. But the great thing is that Airbnb also gives like $1 million policy for every rental. So, at least, there are those safety factors there as well.
Which is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we're going to go to the next one. Are you always scared when you take a risk? What do you learn from taking necessary risks?
I love that question. Okay, so first off, when I consider risk, I consider the fact that people consider risk because they're afraid. Fear, right? Fear is a big thing. Fear is what keeps most people from living their best lives. And I say to people all the time, what is fear? Like if you created fear as an acronym, what does fear stand for, right? And fear is false evidence appearing real, right?
Yeah.
It's something that has not happened, but in your mind, you believe that it's scary. Hasn't happened. People that are afraid of heights, you haven't fallen. People that are afraid of snakes, the snake isn't even by you. Fear failing your business, but you haven't failed. And so for me, risk is a necessary evil, and I'm willing to take a risk. They are educated risks. Although I will say that in some cases, you really need to be willing to risk more. The more you risk, the more reward you will get. So be willing to take risks. Don't put your life in danger. Although I'm very much a skydiving, paragliding, cliff diving type of
There you go.
So, entrepreneurs, you tend to see that we are generally riskier in nature. But it doesn't have to be to that extent. Just make sure that at the end of the day, you're not keeping yourself back because you're afraid of something that hasn't happened. Go out and do it. Try it. If it doesn't work, so what? Try something else. If it doesn't work, and plan it, do your research. Figure out, do your SWOT analysis. Figure out, what's going on in your environment. Like, is this something that could be profitable? What do the numbers look like? Run the numbers. Do all of those things, and then jump. You have to jump. Otherwise, you're never going to actually be able to have the life that you want if you're not willing to take the risk.
Wow. Okay. So, so we're gonna take a few more questions. I know we can't run through everything, but we try our best. Okay. So there's another question here that says, how do you manage being such a rock star in your career while having your personal life at the same time?
So that's a good question, and that's nice of the person for saying a rock star. That's cool. So for me, it's about balance. I'm big on balance, and I have figured out ways to run businesses where I don't have to be there. And that's really important. If you are working in all of your businesses all of the time, all by yourself, it's very hard to do. You need to know who you are and what's important to you. So for me, my number one most important, besides obviously family and friends, my most important thing is autonomy. I need freedom. Freedom is hands down more important to me than even money. And I like money, but I need freedom. So I have to have freedom. Like today, I slept in. I was going to go to the office, but I didn't. I needed a day. And I took my day and I did some work, and I'm here with you guys, and and that, but I balance it and I use my calendar. A lot of people don't understand how valuable their calendar is. My calendar keeps me on track to knowing exactly what I have going on every single day, every single hour. So I'm never confused about what I need to get done. And I check my calendar every night before I go to bed. And I check my calendar again every morning so that I'm aligned with what is it that I have to accomplish today. And it could be everything from, like I had lunch plans with my friend the other day. It goes in my calendar, and it was just a friend's lunch plan, but it's in my calendar. If I'm going out on a date with my guy, it goes in my calendar. If I'm if I have to go into the office, that all helps me to balance out everything that I'm doing. And I'm also I'm very hyper, as you can probably tell. So I'm able to do a lot of things in a day that maybe not everybody can necessarily have the energy for, but my brain loves to be super active. So if I have 20 things juggling, I am happiest.
That's good. And then like it's just because like once you're used to it, once it becomes a part of you, like then like it's no longer a big deal. It becomes something that like you just do regardless. And if it is
Exactly.
something that you're just trying out for the first time, then definitely like you're just gonna be like, oh my god, it's too much. Oh my god, I can handle this. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So
It's all balance. I mean, you have to understand what's important to you. I mean, my personal life is important, my loved ones, my family, that's important to me too. And I take time for that. If I got to fly to Pennsylvania to go, which I just did a couple weeks ago, go see my sister, or even when I went to my friend Douglas Eze's party, I take time for those things. I spend time with my boyfriend. I spend time with my family. You have to prioritize what's important in your life, because at the end of the day, we only get this one life as far as we know, at least on this earth, right? I assume.
absolutely.
And and we need to make sure that we're going to be happy, because we can't take the money with us. So,
Hmm.
when I close my eyes for that one final time, I want to remember those moments.
Yes.
Those friends, those family, those travel. Like, and you got to make sure that while you're working and we're hustling and we're trying to like do all these rock star badass things, that we're prioritizing that as well.
Wow. That's good. Thank you for sharing
Oh,
those
you're welcome.
beautiful things. All right.
Oh, thank
So what we're gonna do is this. I know if we keep on going, honestly, we are not gonna end because there are tons of questions right here. Then I'm like, okay, should I read? Should I not read? Okay, but I have someone here that says like, could a Canadian invest in the US real estate? I know you might probably not know that, but if you
Yeah.
have knowledge,
Yeah,
like
I mean, so I'm not a real estate expert, but I would say yes. Canada,
definitely
yeah,
yes.
Canada and America have, they work together very well. There's no problems there, so there's no issue with that. You can buy property anywhere in the world. It's just a matter of figuring out what the rules and guidelines are. But yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so one last question that we're gonna take, okay? That will be the last one, and then so that way we can like have a recap and then close nicely. All right. So the last question I'm gonna be taking here. Someone says that what is the implication of a customer consumer to our credit level? How long is the credit level will be able to build up? I know we talked about that, but if we can just quickly.
Customer consumer implications. I'm not sure exactly what they mean. So, are they talking customer consumer to our credit level? How long is the credit level be able to build up? And so I'm gonna make some assumptions here about what the question is pertaining to. So as far as credit is concerned, if we're looking at it on a personal level, generally speaking, I mean, credit should be built up before you're even 18 if your parents are doing what they're supposed to be doing by piggybacking you onto their credit. But a lot of us in Black communities didn't have that, right? So a lot of kids come out at 18 with credit. I was fortunate enough to make sure that my son had credit at 18 because he piggybacked off of my credit as well. But it does take, I mean, if you're just starting out at 18, it probably takes a few years before you're going to get your credit to where it needs to be. But I always warn people that do not ever be late on a credit card. And that's a challenge for some people, because some people will be late on a credit card because they're like, well, I really need to buy food and I didn't have any money. But pay your credit cards first at all times, and then use the credit card to buy food. The minute you're late on credit cards, it has a very disastrous long-term effect, because now you're showing creditors that you're not reliable, and they make you wait years before they trust you again. It's like a bad relationship. If somebody cheats on you, it takes some time to get over it, right? It's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing, right? So I always say, people,
Mhm.
like, think of it that way. Like, it might take some time.
Mhm.
And so same thing, like, you really have to show that like you are trustworthy for a long period of time. But generally speaking, a few years after high school to build up credit, and then continue to maintain it and continue to add more credit. So like 40, 50,000 of credit card available would be, I'd say, the minimum that you'd want to have. Don't spend that all. Keep the balances at zero and you should be okay.
Wow, that's good. All right, so we have come to an to the end of the questions, even though there's still more questions, but like it's okay. We'll just take it like that. And then I'm sure that, like, it's been a very wonderful time with you. Like I said to everyone, that, like, this is gonna be it. And that's exactly what it is. So I just want to say a very big thank you to you. But before you go, I want you to just say a word to, like, my viewers, my audience. Like, I want you to say something to them that, like, they can go home and they'll be like, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, what I will do is I will say my favorite quote. Okay. So my favorite quote is Nelson Mandela, where he says, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
Yes.
And that is a really important lesson to learn, because as I was getting through college, I thought, oh my gosh, this is like the hardest thing ever. And then you get through and you're like, huh, okay, well, I finished that. Okay, well, it wasn't impossible, right? As I'm building my first business, my second business, my third business, it always seems so impossible until you accomplish a task. So it's just one foot in front of the other. Just keep moving in the right direction. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. We have, fingers crossed, 80 to 100 good years on this earth. You got time, so don't feel like, oh, I'm 30 and I haven't accomplished my dreams. It's fine, right? Just one foot in front of the other. I strongly believe in education. Get a degree. It does open doors for you, even as business owners, if you can do that. But never think that it's impossible.
Wow. Thank you very, very, very much. Did you guys hear that? Never, 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 never think that it is impossible. So just go out, go do what you have to do, like just give it your best. So, before I round up from our people, and I just want to say a very big thank you to you for being with us on the show this evening. It's been amazing. It's been wonderful. All the way from Florida. I want to say a very big thank you. You mean a lot, my very good friend.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Wow, how was that? That was like beautiful. I wish you guys can answer me. Then you tell me that was beautiful. Okay, so we've come to an end of the show for tonight, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of who you've been here, who you've been, like, from the beginning till this time. I want to say a very big thank you. You guys are amazing. You guys rock. You guys are the best. But most importantly, guys, I want to tell you, please, 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 it's been a very wonderful evening, but do not forget to share this video. Don't forget to share it with your loved ones. Don't forget to share with your friends and family. Don't be stingy. Don't keep it to yourself alone. By sharing it, somebody can be a blessing to it, not just you alone. But you can also be a blessing to someone by sharing that to them, because you never know what they're going through in their life. You never know what they need at a particular time, at this moment in their lives. So please, 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 share and share and share. Share the link, and when you share, don't just share alone. Please like it. I'm begging you, just like it and like the video, because the more you do that, you encourage us. You give us like there's this kind of vibe that you give to us, that like, yeah, like you guys are in support of what we do. So I just want to say, please, please, please support us. We're on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, The Speaker Show. And then on TikTok, follow us, The Speaker Show. Same thing, The Speaker Show, The Speaker Show. Just follow us. And I just want to say a very big thank you to you. Please, I'll see you again until next week. And do not forget my code for you, like my friend said. Please, just go out there. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Get out there, meet people, begin to do something in your life. Don't settle for less. The best is yet to come, but it can't come to you when in your home. It can't come to you when you're just sitting down, having your cup of coffee, watching TV. That can happen. You have to get out. You have to step out. So please, 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 this is the best time that you can get out and do something great for yourself. And I will see you next week. I remain your host, your one and holy, Niniola Fatai, and I will see you. Have a good evening. Thank you.